Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on True Health Live. I'm Deidre Sully. I'm joined by my co-host, Precious Stephanie.
Oh, great day, good day.
I don't think they heard you.
Yes. Great day, everyone.
I feel like this is the setup for the past 2 weeks.
Yes, yes, it has
So
been.
it's just us today. Our other two co-hosts couldn't join us. There's people have family obligations, but they will be back our next time around when we're talking about still talking about our health screenings. We are still on our preventive medicine series. So today, well, actually, let me back up. So last time we talked about preventive or preventative medicine, whichever you decide to use, and the benefits thereof and why we have it, why it's useful, its place in public health. And we're focusing on specifically health screenings. So today we're talking about exams for the bum, colonoscopies, bum exam, whatever you want to call it. It sounds more funny than it really is. So today we're going to be talking about the what it is, why we're supposed to get it, who's supposed to get it, when do you get it, and some stats what's happening with people who are who would need screenings. And we also have a story that was shared with us. So as we're going through these different series, I'm gonna just say again, if you want to share your screening story, please feel free to reach out. You can reach us at truehealthlive@gmail.com, or you can hit me up in the DMs, True Health Live on Instagram or on Facebook, or you can reach out to Deidre Sully on Instagram or Facebook or Gmail. Either way. Greetings, Sovereignties. Thank you so much for joining us.
Greetings.
Peace. This is a great day, and bum exam sounds wrong.
I
Good
agree.
morning,
I agree.
Dudley.
That
Thank you so much. It doesn't sound right. Let's just call it colonoscopies. I was trying to make it softer, but I don't know if you can anything being inserted into the record. I don't know if it's soft or not. Yeah, I wouldn't know. So we're going to talk about colonoscopies. So let's start from the beginning. So what is it? So it is what we call an endoscopic exam. And endoscopic means it's going inside of the body, endo, and scope meaning camera, to see. So it's an endoscopic examination that is of your bowel, your large bowel or your large intestine, and going into the first part of the small intestine, what they call the distal area of the small intestine. So it's going in pretty far. I can't remember off the top of my head how long the large bowel is, but it's going in pretty far, because if we think about, when we think about the body, when we see diagrams, so let's say this bottom is the rectum, goes through the rectum and then all the way up around into the colon. So it's going in pretty far. And they use a very long, flexible tube that has a camera inside of the diameter inside of it's all hollowed out so that the camera, a fiber optic camera, can fit inside. And then they also insert air, so carbon dioxide, to expand, or what they call distend, the colon so that they can see. And as the doctor is maneuvering, we'll say maneuvering the tube into the rectum and up through the colon, it's a slow movement. The camera is showing them on a television screen what whatever it is that they're looking for, any abnormalities, polyps, things like that. Yeah, so far. Anything you want to add, Precious, before I keep going?
Yeah, no. I know we all hear about the dreaded colonoscopy, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's important for us to acknowledge that it's actually one of the more frequently used screenings or accessed screenings, secondary to, of course, mammograms and pap smears. But as far as, screenings that apply to both men and women, the colonoscopy, if you're over 45, is very, very common.
Yeah.
And it's common because not only does it screen for cancer, but also those polyps, right? Which is
Right.
of the preventive side
Right.
of this particular screening.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, moving on into the when, the why. So why, are they important? Most times because you're screening for any abnormalities, like things that could lead to cancer or be signs of cancer. So if you have rectal bleeding or even your bowel movements, because remember this is a colonoscopy, so it is viewing the whole of your colon. So if you have changes in bowel movements, anything that is abnormal or irregular for you, and if you're also 45 plus, you'll want to talk to your physician about these signs and symptoms and get a colonoscopy, because again, remember, the preventive medicine, the screenings are tests that check for any abnormalities before any signs or symptoms exist or before they get out of hand. Um, so yeah, I want to ask, like, so for those of you in the chat, am I staticky? We've been having some sound problems
Yeah,
lately.
and clear.
Good. Okay, good. I don't,
Yay.
maybe my speakers had something in it. I like did one of those. You remember the old Nintendo games?
Did you do the
It was
Sega
like the part.
Genesis? Yes, Sega Genesis is like the harmonica. Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
it worked.
We did
Congrats.
all of that this morning. So, all right, that's good. That's cool.
So,
Um,
just before you go forward with just a little bit more about the what, for those who are listening to this and you have not, which I have not experienced the colonoscopy, what I wanted to point out is the tube that Deidre just described is about the width of your finger. I want to imagine a pinky finger, but even if it were an index finger, it's not. That's
this.
right. So just so that you can kind of better imagine what
Yeah.
you're describing, what she's describing.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, in either way, it's sort of uncomfortable. But again, this is what the air is for, to allow easier passage. And they're also, as we're talking about the tube before, there are preps. There are preps that you go through before to make it a little easier, to empty out the colon. There's like a solution of barium, I think, that you take so they can see. No, wait, I'm sorry. The barium is for a CT scan. But because there are also different kinds of exams. If for screening, they'll do like a virtual colonoscopy, which would be a CT scan, and then they'll create 3D images. But the colonoscopy is more invasive, obviously, than a virtual colonoscopy, which is really just like a CAT scan. Then there's also what they call sigmoidoscopy, when it includes like the first part of like your rectum, so it's not going all the way in. So, but either way, it is invasive in the along the lines of something being inserted into the body, but there's no cutting. And because of the procedure and they're going in so far, it's good to know that, there is light sedation. So you'll be put into, there's a little bit of anesthetic. Both my parents have had them. And I remember my mother like being a little bit afraid of the anesthesia. Because sometimes you hear things about anesthesia, but because it's not a full on sleep. It's more like a twilight.
Right.
Yeah, more like a twilight sleep, just to relax you. And if the procedure takes about 20 to 30 minutes, and they do recommend that, because there is that sedation, during the procedure, even after the recovery period that you get following the procedure, it's recommended that you don't drive. If So that if you come alone, fine, but make sure that someone has dropped you off and is picking you up. So that's just a kind of like a heads up, again, especially for those of you who might be a little bit older and getting a colonoscopy. So yeah. So, but as you were saying, Precious, the reasons are, we're screening for cancer and other abnormalities, polyps and things like that. And a lot of times, if, during the procedure, if they see something, they can probably kind of snip it right then and there, send it off for a biopsy and do some pathology to find out, look at the cells and see what's happening. Is it cancerous? Is it not? Is it been what they call benign, et cetera, et cetera. What else? We talked about
So
the
I
body.
wanted to just share a little bit about the prep.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on your lifestyle, right, your diet, and whether this is truly just kind of more to establish a baseline, or perhaps you never did take that baseline, and this is to kind of address maybe a concern that your physician has. That'll help to determine what sort of prep is recommended, but it's always some sort of laxative. In many cases, there are recommendations for your diet to be adjusted
Right.
in order to, even help to prep for the prep. So, for example, if you eat lots of processed foods and meats, it may be requested that you cut back and eat more fruits and vegetables and things that can begin, and high fiber foods, things that can begin to sweep out the colon. It may be requested that you increase the amount of water you
Right.
take in,
Mm.
which is similar to other screenings that we'll talk about later, where water, just like the air, which you did touch on, the air helps to expand, but a lot of times with different scans, the increase in the amount of water you have also allows for things to be clearer for
Yeah.
those scans. There will sometimes an enema can be recommended
Mm-hmm.
in order to help you, eliminate better.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that prep can be a killer because it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And it can be very chalky from what I've heard, but it's all a part of the process. And you truly, which the goal is really, if you think of your colon like glass, right? You want them to have the best view possible. So things have to be as clean and clear as as you can get it,
Yeah.
so that they're not looking at, the fecal matter, because that's what's in there, right? The
Yeah.
fecal matter that's on the walls or the lining of the colon, but rather what they're truly looking for, which are those
Mhm.
polyps or those growths, the polyps that can, if left, can evolve into cancer, which is what you don't
Mhm.
want. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's all I'm gonna say about laxatives and enemas. I promise. That's it. I
Yeah.
had to get it out though.
Okay. I want to get into like, who gets and we kind of touched on it. Like, so individuals who are 45 plus. I think at one point it was 50 plus. If you're 50, you definitely should
Yes.
be thinking about, at 50 plus, well, 45, but if you're 50, absolutely.
Yes.
If you have a history of colon, rectal, colorectal cancer, because it's all in the same family. That difference between whether it's colon or rectal, it really depends on where the cancer starts. And only the doctor will be able to tell you that. So they sometimes move back and forth between, like if it's pure colon, they'll say colon cancer. Pure rectal is rectal, but if it's kind of like spread across, they'll usually use like a colorectal. But again, they'll be able to through pathology, they're able to determine the genesis of where something like that would start. But generally, we say colorectal cancer. So if there's a history of colorectal cancer, of any of the bowel cancer, any of that, you want to make sure that you start those screenings, and probably even before 50, just because you have a family history. Again, if you have abnormalities, changes, if you have a history of polyps, like these are the things that are key, and signals to go and get that screening and have that test done so you can make sure that you're okay. Um, so yeah, the other thing is when we talk about colorectal cancer, and like, if you have a family history of it, it's good to know, like, 5 to 10% of colon cancers or colorectal cancers are due to genetic, or and hereditary traits. So like, again, if you have that running in your family, then it's really good to make sure that you go get that checked out. And we'll talk about some more stats. First, we did, we always ask for people to share their stories. And so we were able to get a story. So Miss B, she's currently 62 years old. She's from the Bronx. She shared her colorectal, her colonoscopy story. So I'm gonna read it. So story time. We get a story time. We haven't had a story time in a minute, but we'll get more. So Ms. V says, back in 2014, I had my first colonoscopy. I was 54 years old. I'll be honest, I don't remember much of that experience. As you get older, the memory begins to go. I do recall that the night before I had to drink a gallon of the prescribed medicine that cleans your system out. All night I was up drinking and using the bathroom. I remember the medicine having a chalk-like taste to it. I had to put it in a big mug to trick myself so I wouldn't focus on the gallon size. And it helped me to finish faster. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No. I just recall hearing that it's a chalky substance.
Chalky.
Yeah.
I used to, for those of you that know me, and I don't know if I've mentioned it here before, I have a history. I used to do research at Memorial Sloan Kettering. So this is very familiar with patients who had to do scans and procedures, like all of the prep work. It's not fun, like it's not fun, but when you get the good news on the other side, it's worth it. So she says, she had to use a big mug to trick herself, so she wouldn't focus on the gallon size, but it helped to finish much faster. It was a lot because I didn't get any sleep and I had to be at the center for 7:30 a.m. the next morning for the procedure. I get it. I schedule early things too. Like, let's get in and get out. Let's get it over with. I want to know now. I don't want to be like nervous all throughout the day. Like, I want to just get it in and get it done.
And you know what? I think with colonoscopies, they tend to be scheduled first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm. My mom,
because they want the system to be clear. So they'll schedule, they'll give you that prep and then your first thing.
Because then you don't have to, you're not eating anything. You're not.
Right. Right.
So, yeah. I guess it's like, you tell me, like, when they don't let you eat anything when you're in labor, it's just ice chips for you, lady.
Yes. Well, it's for a similar reason, right? They don't want any, well, it's for a different reason, but similar. When you're pushing, they don't want anything unexpected to come out of unexpected places. So they just want babies to come out, right?
Not
poop, right?
Not poop. So she says, I was nervous for the procedure. I was more nervous about waking up and how the anesthesia would make me feel. Yeah, I could understand like being nervous about anesthesia. Luckily, when I woke up, I wasn't nauseous or have a headache. I had surgery before. My previous experience with anesthesia was unpleasant. Okay. I was nauseous and had a horrible headache. So this time I was happy to wake up and not feel that way and feel normal. Everything went fine for the procedure and the results were normal. So good for you. And she actually continues to say, and at that time, this was in 2014, and she says that she was 54 at the time. So now, 2021, it's COVID, and it's time for a second colonoscopy. So now she's 62, and anxious since this time because of diet and medication she's been on. She had to take a Dulcolax daily starting 5 days before the procedure. It started to clean her intestines out slowly. She says, I wasn't always in the bathroom, but my bowel movements were a little more than usual. 3 days before the procedure, I had to be on a what they call white diet. And I think she starts to explain. So she could only eat bread, chicken broth, crackers, white foods. Yeah, I guess like the chicken broth is like clear, that is interesting, right? She couldn't drink milk
because of the mucus, right? So this is like, it's so hard for me to not like interject. When we talk about milk, being a mom, the pediatrician will actually say, no, milk doesn't contribute to mucus. But then I imagine that Miss V is saying that milk was something that she couldn't drink, even though they were telling her bread and crackers and broth were permissible because mucus sits in the body, particularly in the colon. And so if you think about what mucus does, right, is going to kind of like make, if we go back to that glass analogy, it's going to make things all murky and unclear, and could even impact how the scope can navigate, right? Just think, it's, it's slimy. So I find that very interesting to hear. I don't know how bread, I guess just so that you can have something that's going to fill your belly,
Maybe
still
it'll
be
expand.
translucent enough for them to, that's interesting.
I don't know. Maybe it's easy to eliminate. If Miss B is listening, you can, and I think she might be. If you're able to respond, you can let us know if there's something further about like why you couldn't drink milk. So she says she could only drink water and grape or apple juice. I could eat Jello, but only the yellow one. This is so interesting. Was that?
Yeah, it's about how the translucency, right? Oh, so if it's red or if it's purple, it's harder for them to see. So that's why there's this emphasis. But again, why not milk? Because of the mucus content. So stay away from that.
I'm gonna go to the chat in a second. She says she only the yellow. I was upset because I don't like people telling me what I can eat.
Yeah, we don't like telling what to do, right? Don't tell me what to do. I'll do what I like.
Instead, I'm gonna have this milk.
It's white. It's clear.
He's like, it is white. What do you mean? I thought I would feel weak and be very gassy. Just the thought of a white diet gave me a headache. As a person from the Caribbean, on a Sunday, you want your Sunday dinner, rice, beans, chicken, and salad. I couldn't do that, and I was mad and complaining. Anyway, I did survive, and I was okay. I just don't want to do it again. The night before the colonoscopy, I had to drink half a gallon of Miralax. I mixed that powder with 32 ounces of Gatorade. I had to do the yellow one because they don't want you to mix with anything that has red, just like you said, the red or orange color. It has to be clear and clean as possible so they can see as best inside of your intestines. So to your point, the glass analogy. That was really good, by the way. I'm like, you always have these really good analogies. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good way of explaining it.
I'm a visual learner, so I like picture things.
So she goes on to say, they didn't want any residue. It was easier to drink this mixture than the liquid from the previous colonoscopy, I guess the chalky one. One, it was less, and two, it was tastier. She says, since I had the colonoscopy before and I had no issues, I wasn't anxious or concerned. My appointment was at 7 a.m. By the time I got to the center, got prepped, it was 8 a.m. Oh, wow. So it takes a minute. I waited another half hour before I was taken into the operating room. I don't even remember counting down as they started giving me the anesthesia. I just remember waking up in another area of the center. Once again, I didn't have any bad effects of the anesthesia. I was given my release papers that everything was fine and there was nothing to be concerned about. A nurse called me the following day to make sure I was feeling okay and that my bowel movements were fine. I then followed up with the GI doctor 2 weeks after the procedure, and he reiterated that there was a small polyp, but nothing to be concerned about, and that I would do another colonoscopy in about 5 to 10 years. I would ask if you're listening, Ms. B, what did they do about the polyp? So since it was small, did they leave it? Did they take a biopsy of the polyp? And, because you said everything was fine. So I was just curious, because this is like good to know this. And thank you so much for sharing your stories. That's actually quite nice. She says, doing a colonoscopy has given me peace of mind. This is good. So this is why we do the health screenings. It'll be nerve-wracking. Like, y'all gonna hear about my mammogram story during our next episode.
Right. You got to go do it.
The appointment's tomorrow.
Okay.
So she says, a few members in my family have had cancer, not colon cancer, but it makes you worry sometimes. You never know which part of your body cancer can affect. So doing this makes me feel that part of my body is okay and healthy. Okay. Both procedures had their pros and cons. The first time the medication was bad. The second time I had to limit the food and the food I liked, and I had to watch what I ate. So Oh, and so she says, if you're going for a colonoscopy, it's fine. Do it. Just be prepared to be in the bathroom a lot. And she emphasizes a lot. Talk with it. But you know what about using the bathroom a lot? You lose some weight. Because you'd be surprised how many sort of ounces or even some pounds.
You're like, ha ha,
That's
3 pounds lighter.
that needs to be eliminated. So there's some pros to the being in the bathroom.
Yes.
She says, talk with anyone you live with so they know the bathroom will be occupied. Make sure your phone or iPad is charged.
This is all you need right here. She's like a note from the pro.
Right. Before she says, talk with anyone you live with so they know the bathroom will be occupied. Make sure your phone or iPad is charged so when you're sitting there, you have something to read. Make sure you take some wipes and wipe it off. We are in the bathroom. There are different medications to take for the procedure, so talk with your doctor so you're getting the best one. Also very good. We have spoken about this on this show plenty of times before. Speak with your doctor. Don't just take whatever. Ask questions. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Ms. V. Talk to the doctor. Make sure you're asking questions. And if you don't understand something, you keep talking and asking questions until you are crystal clear. And if you need a second opinion, go do that. She says, not everyone gets the same medicine or amount of fluid/powder to drink. It's always based on their doctor's recommendations. Also, talk to your doctor and ask questions if you're worried. Write them down. Oh my goodness, this is so good. Write them down so you don't forget. I always keep a small notebook and pen in my bag if I think of anything. Miss V, we may want to have you on the show later. So you can we'll talk about patient advocacy again.
Yes.
So we'll sort of bring you on so you can say this live. Your health is important, so don't delay in doing the required procedures and screenings. Thank you. Thank you so much for your share. That was really fun. That was good to read, good story, and I'm glad you shared. I'm going to hop over. Do you want to say something real quick while I, kind of get us caught up on these chat comments?
No, I think I saw a question in the chat, so we can just go straight through.
So really quickly, Sabrina says, Ema Precious, you mentioned enemas. Did you suggest an at-home enema or using a holistic practitioner?
So in general, I think that at-home enemas are really a vital part of just anyone's self-care regimen, but women in particular, just the self-care routine. It helps to kind of clear things out from time to time. You can do your own research about the benefits to at-home enema. And of course, you can do a holistic practitioner, but they tend to do more of the colonics and not an enema. And so the distinction between an enema and a colonic is really how deep it goes, right? And how far it goes. And also the process, the machinery, the equipment is very, very different. So I think they're both really, really helpful tools, and they kind of serve a different purpose. But if you do an at-home enema, definitely do your research. You probably want an at-home system that does not have a backflow, like it actually blocks fluids from going back through the tube, because then the tubes can become compromised and infection can happen. So you research. And then also, depending on what you're trying to address, for example, if you're coming off of meats or cheeses, then you may want to add something.
I had a movie scene. Meats and cheeses. It's from Bridesmaids.
Is it? See, I did not know that. You may want, if there are meats or cheeses, sitting in your colon, and you know it because you're bloated all the time or you're, constipated, you may want to add things like a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which helps to flush out mucus. If you're gassy, you may want to use liquid garlic or kyolic. You can actually mince. I'm mincing. You can't see me, but you can prepare fresh garlic as well, but kyolic is good because it doesn't have the odor. Um, those are two. But I really think, you definitely have to do your own research. But that's a little bit about
Yeah.
enemas and
Yeah. What about the enemas versus laxative? Like, what about just taking a laxative?
well, I mean, a laxative, they can work together because a laxative, you're ingesting here,
Mm.
and then
Right.
it's working its way through the entire system.
Mhm.
But a better way to prep for even an enema or a colonic, and perhaps even a colonoscopy, is to shift your diet.
Mhm.
Take in more greens,
Yeah.
maybe start drinking more, yeah, like spirulina, and maybe
Oh,
put
yeah,
some,
for sure.
and maybe put a little bit of oh gosh, psyllium husk, but make sure it's really finely grated,
Mhm.
ground, just to help to begin to soften things up so that the egress is much easier. I'm trying to
Easier.
pick nice words here,
Nice.
like soften things
That's
up
what
so the
I tried.
egress.
Bum exams. I tried, but I guess
Bum bum exams. I don't think I'll be saying that ever again in life. No.
like, let me see what's happening.
Bum bum exams.
Bum exams. All right. Greetings, top tier speakers. So Vanetta says, okay. So Vanetta Dudley, she says yes. So this is in response to the letter. She says yes, took a biopsy to be sure, and it was fine. This is
Good.
about the question about the polyp. And she says, as for the bread, not sure why it was part of the diet, but it was on the list. Because usually they'll give you an approved list of things you
Yeah.
can eat. And she said, yes, did lose some weight too, some of the COVID weight.
Good for
Awesome.
you, Miss B.
We were talking about that COVID weight. It was worse than
Yeah.
the freshman 15. Like, What else? Movie mode. Yes, I'm always in movie mode. Savanese says, yes, psyllium is very helpful to irrigate the colon. This is awesome. So this could be, these things like the enema, colonic, or, laxative things to make the egress easier or to clean out from the inside. They're all good to do in between, but they're not substitutes for the actual examination or the screening. You have to be able to see what's going on inside. So again, if you have like abnormal or irregular things that are happening, like basically it's not your baseline, there has been a change, you need to go see the doctor and figure out what's going on. So if there's rectal bleeding, there's pain, go see what's going on. And of course, sometimes you can figure out like, hey, I ate ice cream and I'm lactose intolerant. So probably you know where the pain is coming from. So maybe you don't have to go see. But if it's something like totally irregular from what's happening, make sure you go and do that. Shalom, Kashia, Sister Kashia. Top tier speaker says at home enemas are great. I used to use them often. I've used herbs and a little bit of lemon on 2 separate occasions.
Yes,
But
lemon's also really good to cut the mucus. Thank you for that
yeah,
reminder. In all matters of herbs. The thing with herbs, and top tier speaker, definitely share what you've done. What I would usually do is actually prepare the herbs as a tea, and use the steeped water. So like a really concentrated, super strong tea, and use that along with the water in the enema bag. Do you do it that way, or do you actually? I've never actually used the herbs themselves, so I just wanted to get some clarity. That might be something to explore. And I guess I never use herbs because I always thought that would be like a super rough kind of experience. So
you mean like in the tea or just like
no, like whether she means using the herbs, the actual herbs themselves in the enema bag. Like, I'm just curious because they really,
uh,
I'm assuming though, she may be referencing the use of the tea and not I just think it'll be a little scratchy on the way out. That's all.
I mean, maybe I would imagine that you don't put them in dry. I mean,
I'm not asking you.
I know, but I'm like, well, why would you?
I keep pointing the wrong way. Oh, here you go. You're not this way, right? You're not. I'm not asking you
I'm like,
at all.
well, why did you do that?
Right. I'm assuming, and also for the audience,
What a
right? What a visual.
like.
That's a literal broom sweep. That is a literal broom sweep. That's what you don't want. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like.
But again, I want, for people reading this, right? Okay, so she's saying a T, because I don't want someone to read this and come back later and think,
Yeah.
oh, I can use tea and put it in my. No, you're not taking the dry herb. You're not steeping the dry herb. You're going to steep it and prepare it as you would a tea. Take the herbs out and use the water. You use the tea. So I just wanted to make sure. But you know what? I can say, though, that I also have used probiotics. And what you do is you just, I use the vegan probiotics that are in the capsules, and you can just take them out of the capsules. And that's another thing that you can do. But again, you have to do your own research.
Yeah, find out what is better for your body and what you're able to do. Just like Miss B said, talk to your doctor, figure out what's best for you. Now, and when we say figure out what's best for you, because I saw something on the internet the other day, and I'm not even gonna. Everything this young lady, this young female, I'm gonna say it like that, wanted to do something, and everything that she read on her research said, "Don't do it." But she turned around and said, well, I have to do what I feel it resonates with me. But all of the factual and truthful information said,
don't do it. Reconsider. Read some literature on the matter. See that?
Right.
So music.
What's best for your body? We're talking about common sense here. Like, so this is not, well, everything says don't do this, but I have to do what's best for me. That's not what I'm saying. So I just want to make that very, very clear.
Right.
So this doesn't mean use dry herbs and put them in places where they don't belong. Okay?
No, don't do that, actually. Don't do that. Don't do that. So thank you for clarifying. Top tier speaker said, I use the herbs as a tea and dilute it with water. Exactly. I don't use the actual herbs, but she said, LOL, it got stuck once. So I don't know what that means.
I'm glad. Okay.
Yes. And then Sabernit says you can use it as a tea or decoction. Yes, that was the word I was trying to think of.
Okay.
Decoction, right? Yeah. So give thanks for that. Let's see. What was the difference when using probiotics? Was definitely researching it and only tried. Okay. So what were I don't know that I could even tell you what the difference was. I can tell you what compelled me to experiment with probiotics. And it really had to do with, I know that I can, let's use apple cider vinegar. I can, drink with diluting it and with lemon and etc. I can drink apple cider vinegar, and I know what effect it has, and then I know the difference between mixing it in enema. So I was curious about that with probiotics. I know how it benefits, the flora in the gut and the bacteria. I was curious about how it could potentially benefit that way. So I was just having my own personal experiment. So you do the same if you like.
Okay. She says outcast.
Oh, that was the reconsider. Read some literature. Yes, outcast.
Okay. Because I'm like, the music person is over there. That's music.
Yeah, she got it right. She got it.
Gorilla glue is not for your hair. Absolutely. Yeah. So we're not doing silly things.
Like read the instructions.
Read the instructions.
For every area. That's right.
Oh
yes, the herbs got stuck in the emmer. Thank you for clarifying that. Top tier speaker. Okay. Which is actually what I imagined. Like once I verbalized the question, I said, well, the hole on the enema tube is pretty small, so the herbs would get stuck anyway. For the most part, it would actually block the liquid from coming out. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Good. Lot of laughs. Great. I'm glad. I'm glad talking about colonoscopies is fun.
Yeah. Try to keep it light, but it's a serious thing, and
It is.
these preventive or preventative screenings are really, really essential. And I'm glad that we could add some levity to the whole poop shoot exploration. I said it.
Listen, bum bum exam was so much better than poop
Oh,
shoot.
was it? Oh, see.
I think it was softer than poop shoot.
Oh, where did I get? I think I know where I got that from. Never mind. I'll never use that one again. I'm just gonna be professional. So it is great that we can add some levity to. Yeah, edit that part out of the podcast,
It's
please.
live, honey. It's you said what you said. You said what you said.
But you know what? Get a colonoscopy.
Hmm.
Definitely get that baseline between 45 and 50. That's
Yeah.
important. But more important than even doing that is really pay attention to how you eat and make the right choices. We know meat and meat products are not good for us. This isn't, I mean, we're in 2021. This is not a surprise. It's not a big, shocker or spoiler alert. So just take it really seriously, and where you can begin to cut back on those meat and processed foods. Your body will thank you. And I know you, Deidre, had asked the question about the polyps, and Miss V did explain that it was healthy. It was as healthy as a polyp can be, right? Non-cancerous or benign. But that whole watch and wait component of Western medicine or allopathic medicine is really our opportunity to make the changes in
Mhm.
our lifestyle so that the leave it and wait or watch it and wait can actually be healed. It's a miracle
Right.
because you're making those shifts in your diet. So just
Mhm.
another plug for.
Yeah. And it's key because like there's a few things like a lot of people are whether it's bandwagoneering or people really wanting to change like their eating habits. Everybody's moving to plant-based. There's all these lab food options of plant-based food and things like that. So, but the idea of plant-based is very popular, whether it's lab food or people actually picking live food to ingest, right? And it's a good thing because it at least gets people thinking about it. Maybe you can wean yourself off of the lab-based plant-based plant food. But the point is like you have people who are younger and younger eating. We eat different now. I know that I eat different from my parents. Did I always eat like this? No, but I'm part of that generation that's like making that shift, which is a good thing because when we talk about as we're talking about colonoscopies and these screening exams and the reason why we get them and colorectal cancer being like a main, kind of thing that is being screened for, more and more, especially when it comes to melanated people, we we tend to get diseases at a higher rate than other racial and ethnic groups, and then we die from them. So when it comes to like colorectal cancer, Black Americans are diagnosed 20% more than their white counterparts or any other ethnic group. And then we're 40% more likely to die from these diseases. So when we're proactive and we're moving in a way where we're being proactive and we're engaging in preventative practices like getting health screenings, changing our eating, then these numbers and we won't be statistics. You don't want to be a statistic in that way. So these are things to pay attention to, especially like recently, you know, Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman. He passed away. He was, he 43 years old. That's young.
Yeah.
That's really young. And he passed. That's pre the age that you're even supposed to start getting screened. So there's something to say with like our diets and the things that are just happening in society. Things that we're ingesting internally, whether it be physical ingestion or just like energetic ingestion, like causing stress, like these and genetics. These are the things that we have to pay attention to. So whatever we can do to help our genetics along, we should probably be doing that.
Yes.
So yeah.
And when you shared the stats earlier about, I think you said 8 to 10%.
5 to 10. The genetic part.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, 8 to 10%. I wanted to just say, then that leaves what, 90 to 92% of this to be like in your control, in your hands. No, maybe the environmental factors, but definitely the components of stress, right? And how you manage it. And just to kind of pivot to the chat as it pertains to stress, top tier speaker says that she's noticed that the enema helps with mental clarity and feeling more energized. So definitely you feel more energized because, right, just think about it. You lose weight.
You excising toxins.
Right, exactly. You're releasing lots of toxins. So, but then it also helps with, oxygenating the brain and getting more, because your body isn't focused on processing or eliminating food that's just stuck. So it's more energy that can make its way up to the brain. But yeah, it's really important that you take that 90% seriously, because so many times, media and our physicians and just old school way of thinking, genetically predisposed to X, not just what we're discussing, cancer, but just you think that you have no chance because of genetic predispositions. But it's really that you are eating and living like the people in your past, and some of those things, when changed, would also change the dis-ease and imbalance that you introduce into your life, right? If you can shift that.
Yeah. So I think we got one last comment. Savarni says, such an important point, Precious, shifting to a whole foods
plant-based. I know our brains are like,
I know we do acronyms very well. I'm gonna figure this out. Whole foods plant-based lifestyle has helped with frequent and proper cycles of elimination. The diet has a huge impact on the clogging of our digestive tracts and the colon. Let me tell you, when it's so interesting, and I think what I'll do is reach back and see some of my colleagues from Memorial Sloan Kettering, because when I was there, interestingly enough, I did a lot of work that I did with them was within their STGI, solid tumor gastrointestinal department. And so this deals with everything from the throat all the way down to the rectum, because it's the gastrointestinal tract. So from the time it enters your mouth, and it goes down into that gullet, so esophageal, pharynx, and then even everything in between, like liver, pancreas, all of it. And a lot of the times it's interesting, like when there's different procedures or things that they recommend patients to eat, it's not always plant-based. So I want to get it, and it'll be interesting to find out why, because there's this push for, we recommend patients to get a lot of protein in. And the truth is, it's like you don't need meat to give you protein. You need things that help to produce amino acids. So that's the thing that people don't say. And there are plenty of foods that help to do that, where the amino acids will transition into protein. And I had to learn that, in switching to a plant-based diet. Because, that's the question people are, what are you going to do for protein?
Yeah.
Meat is not the only thing that has protein.
And where does the meat get its protein? Because they're vegetarians.
From the grass. They're out there.
They're vegetarians.
So we'll be just fine.
Something to think about.
Fine. You will be just fine. So, whole foods plant-based diet.
Oh, I'm like, what was that? Yes.
So we are supportive.
She supports that.
Okay. Vanessa says my connection keeps going on. Thank you for this, and thanks for sharing the story. And have a great, happy birthday to you as well, Vanessa. Thank you so much for sharing the story. We will have plenty of opportunities for more storytelling and more sharing. Sarvanice says y'all funny. You are welcome, Sarvanice, and you're welcome, top tier speakers. You're welcome, Vanetta. Thank you so much, Kashia. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Princess, you have anything last you want to say before we close out? That's our talk.
No, just, our mission with this whole series, right? Is to really shed light, but also offer insights as to what you can do that kind of goes beyond what you'll get in the normal public health arena. Own your process, own your body, own the information because it's out there. Do your research. And as Ms. V eloquently said, go with your questions, take your notes, and be empowered.
Yeah. Good, thanks. So, as always, if you have anything that you would like to hear us talk about, definitely shoot an email, truehealthlive@gmail.com. You can DM us at True Health Live on Gmail or on IG or Facebook, or I think we're on TikTok. You can email, you can DM Deidre Sully on TikTok if you want to go on TikTok. I don't know. But we're there. There's so good. You can also make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Also make sure to put things in the comments. If there are any other questions or things that you want to ask, afterwards, if there's a question for Ms. V, I can probably get in touch with her, right, Vanetta? We'll, willfully we'll be able to get like some further questions answered. If you have questions for us, make sure you put them in the chat. Make sure you join us in about 2 weeks. We'll be continuing our preventative medicine series and talking about health screenings, and we're going to talk about mammograms. We're going to have a lot of story time for that one. So we got some mammogram stories on deck. So make sure you join us. Don't miss it. It's going to be a good time. Okay. Peace, everyone. Thanks for joining.